used charts, we've used weights, and a lot of times when we think about nutrition, we think, am I looking fat versus thin? Is my clothes fitting me? And most times when we think about food, we think about weight. But there's something I want to bring out. You could be plump and undernourished, and you could also be lean and malnourished. So a lot of times the focus on nutrition, especially with nutritionists, it is more about awareness of what to eat, how much to eat, and the food systems that we have. I came across an article from Dr. Francesco Branca. He is the department head of the nutrition head for the World Health Organization. And he said something really interesting. He says, we can no longer characterize countries as low income and undernourished or high income and only concerned with obesity. All forms of malnutrition have a common denominator. And his plead was that we need to change the way food systems are delivered. That is beneficial. And as a nurse, I really want to support the nutritionists out there. But I want to tackle the underlying why. A lot of times right now we realize that people who are living in poorer countries, they too can have obesity. And people who are in more affluent countries, you may know what to eat, you have all the right foods around you, but the choices, and you know what to eat, but the choices is not the right choice. And I don't mean to talk to you from like I am the expert. This is my journey. I am pivoting to eating more holistically healthy for my life, and I want to join you. I want us to be on this journey together. So if you came here today, it's because I'm just sharing with you some things that I have learned and experienced. Okay, so before we talk about why it is we can get to making the right choices, we got to talk first about what is nutrition. So from the base word nutrition, you get the word nutrients. And a nutrient is an energy source. So when we think of food, we should think of food in terms of energy, quality of nutrients in the food. I'll give you an illustration. I don't know if you ever had this, but if you have a cell phone and maybe you've been using a knockoff charging cord for a while, eventually you're going to get a message that says, this is not the original charger. Your charging speed is going to be reduced. So instead of taking 1 hour to charge, it may take 8 hours, even 3 days to charge. So for optimum charging, it would be wise to go and buy the manufacturer's cord. And if you're like me, you might buy, if you're cheap like me, you might buy a couple more chargers until you realize after some time, I keep getting the same message. So this what happens with our body is sort of similar. You see, we as humans, we could eat just about anything for food, but if it is lacking in the essential nutrients from the manufacturer or from nature, what happens is we find ourselves eating more and more and more food and actually having less and less energy because the food have no nutrients in it. So what are the nutrients we need for life? Seven of them: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, fiber, and water. So a healthy diet would include all those seven nutrients. And so let's do a little exercise. Let's stop for a moment and gently close your eyes, right? Think about your favorite food, that good, delicious tasting food. Taste it, smell it, feel the texture, right? Now, don't judge it, right? But just ask yourself this question: what are the nutrients inside of this food? Okay, now open your eyes. I hope I didn't kill it. I hope I didn't kill it for you. But if you think about it, right, what I'm trying to encourage you, my friends, my neighbors, is for us to become what we call a conscious eater. So instead of labeling food healthy versus unhealthy, as we're eating, I want us to become aware of what nutrients are in the food that we're eating. And I'll give you an example. I like meat lovers pizza. So when I close my eyes, that's what I'm thinking of, a meat lovers pizza. So instead of saying, oh, pizza, that's just junk food, I would say what I'm eating now is carbohydrate, fats, and processed meat. So over time, instead of just eliminating pizza out of my diet, what I would do is add nutrients to it. So slowly I take away a meat, right? One by one, and then add a vegetable, maybe some fresh peppers, maybe some onions, some pineapple, some spinach. So foods that I like, but also give nutrients and flavor. Everybody has a different taste, but this concept of conscious eating is it's a more practical way to approach healthy nutrition. Okay, so most foods that are high nutrient or nutrient dense foods are, like we know, fruits, fresh fruits, and vegetables. But some people say, I don't like that. I don't like fresh fruits and vegetables. And I don't know if you attended our last class, but our last class, we talked about mental health and the mind, how the mind controls our actions. So, what we do is actually what we think. And when it comes to food, we don't just eat food for survival. Our thoughts, our emotions, and our social settings are deeply connected to the foods that we eat. It is so strong that when it comes to food, all of our senses get involved. Maybe if you hear me say da 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 da, I'm loving it, right? Your ears instantly you think about McDonald's. Or maybe you're driving and you see that flashing red hot sign. You say, oh, I'm gonna go get a hot Krispy Kreme. Or sometimes you smell, like when you walk into a Subway, you could smell that fresh warm bread. Or maybe when you're eating a nice piece of cake, you could just taste this soft whipped cream, right? Or sometimes you taste that salty but sweet brown sugar, black pepper, bacon, oh, croissant. You see, I like food, and now I'm getting myself hungry. I like food. But all of our senses get involved when we eat. And not only our senses, but also most times the best food that we have is around our friends. So at a cookout, family reunion, you think about your auntie pie, your mommy fried chicken, your uncle ribs. Yes, we have emotional connections because not only do we love these people, but we love their food as well. So, trying to eat consciously, we can't just address the food itself. We have to really look at our emotions and our mental and social ties with food. We have to be aware of that first. So, like I told you, I'm going through this journey, and I had to do some work on my mind. And I'll give you a story. When I was growing up, I loved to eat junk food because junk food was like a treat, especially when you talk about like meat like KFC, right? And in my mind, what I came across with is when we could afford it, right? We would eat the good stuff, right? So I would save up my money. I remember saving up all my money 1 month to buy a McDonald's cheeseburger. And I thought, oh, I was just doing so well. That was the best tasting cheeseburger of my life because I worked really hard for it. And then that was my reward. So I went away with the mindset, right? That if I'm doing good and if I can afford it, then I would buy it. But if I wasn't doing good, or if I was stuck in poverty, right? Poverty meant you go make it, go make it for yourself, or you bring food from home, or you go pick it on a tree outside because it's for free. That's what my mindset was. So even though I tried all different diets trying to lose weight, I realized before I changed my eating habits, I had to address my mindset, my emotional and psychological connection with food. I had to change to realize that I wasn't just eating for taste and flavor, but I was also eating for optimum energy. And this change happens over time. So that was my story. What about you? Take some time to assess your thoughts. Think about, what do you associate food with? What do you like food for? What connections you make with your food? Is it family? Is it events like a reunion? Is it you reward yourself? That's when you're successful. Then you get treats. Some people, maybe when they were children, they thought, when I grow up, I'm just gonna buy all the M&Ms and Skittles and potato chips ice cream that I want, and nobody could deny me, right? And you know what? You are successful. You become successful because the mind is powerful. And when we tell our mind something, it's gonna work to make it happen. So it gets deep. It gets deep when it comes to food, but it actually goes a little bit deeper. And this is where I'm gonna have a real conversation, not just charts and statistics, but really, especially during this pandemic, our bodies, right, was designed to carry out our life's purpose. But if our purpose in life is unclear or non-existent, our desire to eat well and be aware of what we're eating goes away. And as a nurse, I see this a lot in our elderly population. When they lose their desire or their drive to live, it is very hard to get them to eat. But it's not just limited to them, it can happen to anyone. Even young people, when their purpose is not clear, it's easy for them to not care about what they're eating and how they're eating. So I have an illustration for that. If you Nobody wants to put premium gas in a car, to park it in a garage, or to drive it aimlessly around town. So most people, they won't care about the energy, right, that they're consuming, because they lack a defined purpose for life. I don't know, I hope you get that. They lack a defined conscious life purpose. So I'm gonna ask you, my listener, have you found why it is worthy for you to be alive? This is where I want to start a nutritional real conversation. I want you to ask yourself some questions, and these are just rhetorical. But ask yourself some questions like, what is my purpose in life? What makes me get out of bed every day? Why am I alive and want to be alive? What is it that I am doing that makes it important for me to have energy for my day every day? Now, if your questions or your thoughts go to, well, I don't really want to be alive, or I don't even think I'm worthy enough to be alive, I will encourage you to pause your search for good nutrition and invest in some professional help. But if you say, well, I want to be alive and I know my purpose, I want you to take some time to think about how your actions when it comes to choosing food gives you energy. Are you getting energy every day to run smoothly through your day? Or is your food decisions just like me, decided solely based on the flavors and the taste, maybe even the textures of the food. Something to think about. I had to think about all these things in my journey. But I want to let you know that you can be successful. You are more powerful than you even imagine. Why would I say this? Because our bodies were made to design to help us in every way. We just have to learn how to be aware of our body. When we eat, we should be aware not just to satisfy that hunger pangs in our belly, but we should be aware after we eat, how do we feel? See, if after we eat, we go through our day and we have low energy, it actually can be a sign of low nutrition. And the reason a lot of people, I don't know how it is in different countries, but a lot of people find themselves with depression problems. A lot of people, they have no drive to go to work, or they like to scroll through social media, and that's about how much energy they have. And some people even categorize themselves and say, well, I'm just lazy. But I'm having this real conversation because many people don't realize the connection between low energy and poor nutrition. So, words, right? Our words are very powerful. What we say comes from our inside. Even scripture says, out of the heart, right, a man speaks. So we can use our words to empower ourselves. And I'll give you an example. When you have a friend, or if I have a friend, and my friend tells me, I don't like tomatoes, their words I'm going to remember. So every time I offer them food, I would be aware not to give them what they say they don't like, right? Our brain does the same thing. So when we start telling our brains, I don't like, I don't want, our brains remember it. I'm not saying I'm not saying to lie. This is not about saying I love broccoli when you don't really like it. What I'm talking about is being specific in your language. So I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Instead of saying I don't like spinach, a better way would be I don't like the way this spinach is prepared. Or instead of saying I don't like oatmeal, you can say I don't like the texture of oatmeal. And this helps you to really be open to the nutrients in the food, where it may be prepared in a different style, maybe something to your liking. It's important to remember that an allergy, a food allergy, is not the same, is not equal to not liking something. So if someone has a food allergy, that means that if they eat this food, it will be, no matter how they eat it, no matter how you cook it, it will your body will have a negative reaction. But if you just don't like something, that's solely just your taste and texture preference. So changing your wording is actually going to help you. Also, being aware of harsh negatives, such as, I don't have time, I don't know how to cook, I won't eat vegetables, I can never give up them sweets, right? Our brain is listening, and it will make a success of whatever you're telling it subconsciously. So this is not just about being positive, saying, oh, I like this, I like that, but really getting to the root of, if you think you can never change and you think, oh, God, I will never, I used to say this all the time, I will never not eat meat. I am too much of a meat mouth, right? It requires to just go a step further and think, why is it you feel like you are unable to change this particular eating pattern? What are the emotions behind it? What are the psychosocial factors behind why you feel as though you can't find time to prepare a meal, or you can't learn how to cook, or you can't give up processed foods, right? So, besides, so remember you have a couple people listening to you, right? To your preferences, but you also have yourself, your brain listening to your preferences. Something else that listens to you is the industry, the food industry. And something that we forget is that the industry or food marketing, they actually create food to meet the demands of people. So if we go and say our community is a food desert where you only find processed foods in the supermarket, that's a reflection of what we personally buy and our community members buy. So if you are on a path and you say, I want to eat better, right? I want to make better choices, right? You may be surprised that as you slowly choose different, you will find in the grocery store the options that weren't there before. That's because as people start making changes, right, the markets change to meet the needs of the people. So if you're on a healthy path, encourage your friends, encourage your family, encourage your neighbors to eat healthy too. Then you will have an abundance of options out there. Now, I wanted to spend a little bit time with people who live in maybe a low income or underdeveloped communities because they may say, I don't have, we just don't have the food, or it's really expensive food out there. And I don't want to neglect that everybody's situation is different. Our resources are different. But what I do want you to do is to focus on what you can do to improve your own nutrition. Just like someone in an affluent country may have to change their perspective, someone in a low income neighborhood or country may also have to change their perspective. Sometimes a step or a reflection in our desires. It is the food that I desire to have. Is it expensive because it's imported from a different country? Or is it just my perspective? Some people, they prefer to buy food than grow food, but it may be more cost effective and nutritionally beneficial to grow food. So it either way, work working on ourselves, working on our mindset is very important. And so everybody's situation is different, but I know you're gonna do your best to really reflect on your thoughts behind getting the energy that you need to carry out your purpose. Okay. And I am your friend and I'm in the journey with you, and I'm on the same journey trying to make these decisions. Now, we talked a lot about food, but let's talk a little bit now on exercise. So sometimes we think about exercise and we think about going to the gym. But exercise basically is the way our body uses the energy we consume. So if you think about it, right? And this is a really different perspective, right? But if you think about it, when you have a device, after you use up all your storage, right, you have to pay for more storage. And if you're not using and you don't want to delete, to store more and more and more, you have to pay more and more and more. But our body is amazing. Our body stores energy for free. Yes, we call it fat. And you may think, fat, when you think fat, most people think in a negative connotation. But that's what fat is. Fat is our body storing energy that we cannot use right now. So we took in too much energy and our body have to put it somewhere. Why am I why is my perspective like this? It's because I noticed something. Gratitude helps you to gain and to release energy. When you look at your body, maybe you might see some pockets of fat and you may address it negatively. But maybe if you take a glimpse to adjust your view of your body, instead of contempt, try gratitude, even for the things that you don't like, right? Because when you cultivate gratitude for your body, every member, every cell, right? You will be committed to serving it better. You may see bulges in spaces and places you just prefer not to have. But instead of saying, oh, cool, look how fat I am, maybe you could develop a fascination for the human skin and say, wow, look how my body stretches to accommodate me. And this takes work. I'm not going to lie to you because a year ago, I had a baby. And when I look at my postpartum belly, I have to consciously switch my thoughts to gratitude. I have to consciously think, wow, look, my body stretched to accommodate my baby. So now I want it served me, it served my child very well, and I want to help it by getting it back in its place. So it's an attitude change, it's an attitude of gratitude, but in my experience, it works. It works really well. So that is my perspective on exercise. It is not easy. Not everybody likes to exercise, but it's just the use of energy, right? And working to keep your body going and keep that energy spent. So I talked a lot. I talked a lot. And as a nurse, we do evidence based practice. So basically, that's, when we're talking, we want to have evidence to back up what we're saying. And unfortunately, in the healthcare field, you may find a practitioner talking to you about health and wellness, and unfortunately, they're not healthy or they're not well. And so I really hope to bring true evidence for you. And I think I have one of the best evidence out there. I have an interview with my mom, and I think moms are like the best scientists because moms, they have to do and try all these different ways until they figure out what really works. So my mom, she does a lot of healthy eating, a lot of exercise, and I think you're gonna enjoy this interview. Okay, so let's play it. Hi, welcome back to The Spark is Love. Come on, come on, come on, come on. We have a really, really one minute, just getting it together, getting the video up. Hi, welcome back to The Spark is Love. Come on, come on, come on, come on, join me. We have a really, really wonderful interview. Oh, guess who here? Mommy. Mommy is here. Mommy is here. To share so much good stuff with us today. Yes, us young people. You know why? Because we got to get our eating together. We got to eat right. Come on now, we could do it. So here is my mommy. Her name is Claire Charles Simpson. So my mommy is living in Trinidad. We're going to talk about some island food, okay? So we're going to start off just a little bit of telling us about you. Did you grow up learning to cook healthy and shop nutritionally? Like, what's your experience? What's your background?
Well, my background is that we were poor people. So we had to eat healthy. We didn't have money to buy all the nice big chicken. And as a matter of fact, in Trinidad, we didn't have a whole lot of meats and all of that unless you have your yard fowl, So we will eat like fish. We used to even go and do with little catching of our fish. So we will cook beans and rice. And my mother always made me do this stuff because I was the eldest. In the islands, the older ones always take care of the younger ones and even the peer ones. So we had a lot of natural things, savory, a lot of the fruits, the guavas and the pineapple and the bananas. We had those things. And we used a lot of herbs. So if you had a cold or anything, you had a grass to go and get, or a bush for the cold. We didn't know about medication. And I think that worked very good for us. In my time, people in my age group and in my younger siblings, we grew up healthier than kids now because we use a lot of medication now. So I try was to do that with you all, but you all were a little resistant to medication. And I used to like to not to give the plain flour, put wheat in my bread.
Ooh, yeah, like a wheat. I eat more wheat than bread. But mommy, don't worry. I live in to do the same thing because you mentioned something that it was just natural. It was just normal. Here in the States, what you grew up on, we call organic, and we have to pay twice as much for what you grew up on. So poverty kind of worked out well for you, huh, mommy?
Very much.
It actually was healthy. But talking about us children growing up, right? What are some of the challenges that you had to face and overcome? Because we don't want the vegetable, we don't want the bread, the whole wheat bread. So how did you help us as kids to actually like to eat healthy?
Well, I didn't use to substitute, and things wasn't that financially good to substitute either. So when you're all hungry, you all have to eat it, even though if you didn't eat all. So I couldn't substitute, and I know it was good for you. So
yes, speak it, because you had four children and you're a single parent, right? So when did you even find time to cook? Listen, I have one baby, and I do not know where I find the time. It's so hard to find the time. So where did you find the time to prepare nutritious meals for four children and send them to school, make the money to buy the food? Like, how did you do it?
Well, first again, I had blessings from above
Yeah.
to have the insight and the wisdom to do it, and then experience from in my younger days, because as I grew up with my mom and I being the oldest one, I used to have to get up on mornings early and assist with seeing about the younger ones, even cooking for my mom. So I had in my body tuned to getting up early in mornings, like 4, 4:30. And after saying my first put pot on the fire, because I have to finish cook by 6 o'clock for my mommy to leave. So that was good training for me, because after now, when you all get older, and I have to take you all to drop you all to different school, different people going to different secondary school. We have to get up early, do our morning worship, after cook, and then we have to leave home within a certain time. So it's a schedule, having a good schedule, what worked for me. But I used to find time to relax because if you remember, we used to still find time to go in the park. We used to still find time to go and sit down in the savannah and do our family study. We used to call it
Yes.
family study that time. And
Yes.
have a treat, because I always believe in giving you all the treats. If I say I'm buying pizza today, or we're gonna buy crab barbecue,
Yes.
you know, or we buying
Yes,
ice
I
cream.
remember.
Yeah, so all the week I make you all eat healthy, a little treat in between, like pizza or barbecue or what you call burgers, those things.
Yes.
And most times I make my stuff too, because I didn't trust buying stuff outside. So all
I
those things,
know.
yes.
I remember. And you know, mommy, that's so excellent because you know what? I used to feel, I kind of felt a little slighted because I was like, my mother got sweet hand, you know, and I don't even know how to make a callaloo because you always had all the meals ready. But now I understand why. It's because you had a schedule. So you couldn't wait for us to wake up to cook. We couldn't say, oh, I'm hungry and now you're starting to cook. You already had the food ready. See, I
Yes.
forgive you. I forgive you. Don't worry, I learned.
At that time, when I tell you, and I say, well, all right, today's Saturday, we will cook for Sunday and this evening, and when I come, you are not ready and what happened, and then I go and sleep because I need rest too. And when I get up, it's the time you are going to sleep, so I have to do this thing Sunday morning anyhow. Get up Sunday morning early and cook. So I have to apologize. I always feel bad for running ahead and cooking and wasn't inculcating you all into the cooking, you know?
But you know what? You did it because we learn by your example. And this is why I even here talking to the world about healthy eating. So you had to do it. We had to taste the food. The food always tastes good, right? I used to trade my food for lunch. But you know, for other people lunch, you know, they would and they say, oh, your mother could cook real good. And I say, you taste all that whole wheat and the bread. But you know what? It was a blessing and we appreciate it. You know, the way mommy cooked when I came to the States, I noticed a difference in how I felt. I felt a difference, you know? And, you know, with mommy, it wasn't just about eating right. Mommy, tell us about your exercising. I know you exercise. Everybody who know you like to exercise. Tell me.
Yeah, so my exercise started even in my early age years when I used to do a lot of gardening. When you have to go, you didn't have those, like you all have in America, those lawnmower and all that. We have to use the hand stuff and the shovel and the hoe. So when you're done, you have a good sweat. Plus, I had friends, we had a group, we used to go on Friday and run around our savannah, which is like a roundabout, because they said that is the biggest roundabout in the world. It takes you from one area to another, about 4 little, not city, what you call it? 4 little areas in the Port of Spain city. So to go over there, you have to take the whole roundabout. So we use that as a walking area, exercising area. Some people use it for cycling. And I used to do that. And then when I got pregnant with my son, I was so slim and nice, I didn't want to get fat. So I had a dear mother, a mother to be book, and it had exercises. And I exercised for my 9 months. So much so when I came out of the hospital, I had on one of my slimmest dress. They thought it was somebody baby I was holding. That was my baby that I just had a few hours ago. And that also gave me the drive to keep exercising. I realized how exercising is very good for your body. So over the years, I continue. I had 3 other kids after that, and I continue to look slim and nice and feel healthy and good. And as you all were growing up, I would do my exercise, and you all holding my feet. I lie down doing my when I knocking you all over. So I think I get a little exercise routine into you all by what I was doing.
We used to do Cathy Smith, you know, remember?
And Denise Austin.
And Denise Austin, yes. You know, it's not just about eating, but it's just the whole healthy lifestyle. And what I like about you, mommy, is that, you know, growing up, especially coming from the Caribbean, and even when you come to the to America, and there's so much wealth, even people who are poor, they still have like government assistance and stuff. And you kind of look back at poverty and you feel like, oh my gosh, it was so negative in that you didn't have enough food. You know, people say I don't have enough food to eat, you know, because they can't buy the burger and the fries and the chicken. But I really like what you did with us because you know, you really use poverty to your advantage, you know. We eat natural, we eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit. And I remember going down on Charlotte Street buying $1. I had only $1.50 for allowance, and that would get me either a bag of cheesies, which finish like that, or a pound of banana, not a pound of banana, yes, a pound of banana, you know, I don't know if it's a pound of banana, but I could get like 5 or 6 bananas that would fill me up. So poverty actually was helpful more than it hurt. And I think
Mhm.
that's a good message to go across because if you don't have money, you don't need money to eat good. You need to make better choices. So I really appreciate that. And you know, look beautiful, not a wrinkle on your skin. So I can obviously see eating healthy, exercising has paid off. But what are some other payments that we can't see?
I don't use preservative, and I use a lot of chive and garlic and
Mhm.
onions and ginger, but I prepare them for myself. So I will take the chive and put it in the blender, and I will blend it instead of buying those but I have dry chive or powder. So I grind my garlic, you know, and I use all the natural seasonings to season my food, so I don't need all those shake bottles and so on you have. Um, I also use more, we call it provision in Trinidad, like sweet potatoes and cassava. They are things that come up from the ground. I use most of those things than the rice. If I use rice, I try to use the real brown rice. So I have enough fiber into my body.
Mhm.
And what else?
But
I
mommy,
like fish, I like turkey, and I cook those things like bake them, steam them, curry them. Curry is a very healthy dish, you
mhm,
know? Yes.
it
So I
is a
try to eat
turmeric.
healthy, and I'm proud to say next January I'll be 66 years.
You know that's going to be on the internet. You're saying your age.
Oh boy.
That's because you're looking good. You know, as a nurse, I as I got into nursing, I see people taking a lot of medications. A lot. A lot of my job was just trying to figure out what they're taking and making sure that they were safe and didn't interact. Something about mommy, I never really saw you take bunch of medication growing up, but I think it has to do with the way you eat. Do you have a lot of medication now that you're almost 66? Do you have a lot of medication to
Certainly
take?
not. For the past 10 or 15 years, I believe it's because of the stress and the hustling and the everything with the children and the job and the everything. Somehow my pressure kept fluctuating over the years, and the doctor tell me 1 minute your pressure, the next minute it's high. We don't want to put you on medication. And then eventually they decided to put me on medication. And sometimes for whole 6 months, I haven't taken your medication because I try to control my pressure with natural things like, besides eating healthy and exercising and drinking water, I try to control my pressure like having my little ginger tea and a little turmeric tea because those things thin your blood so that you wouldn't have to have so much problem with the pumping of the blood to the heart, you know. And they said olive oil good, so I try to use a lot of olive oil in my daily meals. I try to do the omega-3. We have something here you call 7 C's cod liver oil. I took that for years. I had a woman one a day. I took that for years. I've never had a cold or flu in ages. I haven't had the
Beautiful.
cold or the flu in ages. Yes, I can't tell you last day, and that cod liver oil tablet helped me. And as my supplement, a good vitamin, I have
Mhm.
something that my health care practitioner gave me called Ultra Woman. That when I take that, I don't self take it every day. because it just
Beautiful.
makes me feel so energized and so good.
Mhm.
I just take it so that I can continue feeling good.
And
Yeah.
mommy, I know you have energy for days because if she could dance me out till 2, 3 in the morning, she danced me and my husband out. So I know you have energy. And I really, really want to take this time to thank you for allowing me to interview you because you are the experts. You are the scientists. You have develop ways and means. You have tried many, many different experiments that maybe you didn't call it experiments, but you have tried and tested different foods, exercise. So what works for your body? And now I get this privilege to interview you and share your story with the world. I hope that my peers, I hope that we will listen to your wisdom. And I really thank you for your time. And I thank you for taking care of this beautiful body that you were given. I don't know if you have any last minute tips that you want to share with the viewers.
Don't forget your spiritual part of life because our physical is very good, but our spiritual is even more important. And if you have a good spirituality, you will get wisdom from above to be able to take care of this physical body because it's the one above who is the creator who gave us this body. And when we really think about it, our body was made to go forever. That is why the more you use it, is the more you get out of it, is the healthier, the stronger it is, your bones, the more you use your bones and everything, the more you use your brain, they don't ever deteriorate. The more you use it, and when you stop using your body, then your body deteriorates.
The mind, the body, the spirit, it all works. You can't separate it. It all has to be balanced. Thank you so much. Beautiful. I thank you. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I learned so much from mommy, things I didn't even know. On a note for water, something that mommy always told me because I don't like to drink water, is that she said to put a little lemon or maybe pineapple. She boils the skin from the pineapple and put it in the lemon. Put it in the water. It helps you create the appetite. It doesn't taste just like plain water. So if you have to increase your water consumption, that was a tip from mommy that she said. So I thank you so much. Let's reinforce the lessons that we learned today. We talked about nutrition being energy. Nutrition is energy. And when we consume food, we should think about what are the nutrients in this food so that you choose or you add nutrient dense foods to whatever your favorite foods are. We also talked about hold on 1 minute, let me just get my notes here. We also talked about before we try to make the big change to eat right, it is helpful to address some of our social, emotional, and mental ties that we have to food. And digging deep on what our life purpose is really. When we're clear on our life purpose, we will see why we need the energy to get through the day. We will make choices not just based on our flavor or our taste preferences, but on the quality of energy within the food. And last but not least, we talked about those, no matter if we're living in an affluent area or if we're in low income or low means, we can always think of food as in terms of what could I do to improve my energy source, right? So that might mean growing it from the ground or switching to organic foods or even just changing some of our mindsets and perspective on food. So that was our class today. I thank you for joining. I do have an announcement to make that this is actually going to be our last class on Zoom. So the premise of this class was the spark is love is to fuel loving thoughts and infuse love into our perspective, because it is shown that love is actually a big change agent. So we talked in our classes about pain management, we explored breathing techniques together, we gave some love to the caregivers, we braved the conversation on mental health, and today we had a real conversation about nutrition. And you can find all these topics on my YouTube channel. So moving forward, all the content in our Let's Talk section will be on my YouTube channel in the playlist Let's Talk. And this allows us to be more fluid and flexible with life, and you could tune in when you have time. So I look forward to seeing you on that platform, and be sure to interact with me, leave your comments and your posts there, and I'll be sure to respond back to you. If you said this was enough, Casey, and you had enough information to pivot to a healthy lifestyle, I am happy for you. Even if just one person benefits from this information, I am so happy, and it was well worth it. I will end the class with this quote: if you listen to your body when it whispers, you would not have to hear when it screams. So I encourage all to live holistically